touch me.
Solo Sikoa. After WrestleMania 40, when Cody Rhodes finished his story, beating the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns. After this, Roman and Solo stepped up and brought many new faces to the WWE. But birds of production, how we get here? Well, let's take a look back. Solo is the son of Rikishi and the younger brother of Jey and Jimmy Uso. On the September 3rd, 2022 at Clash at the Castle, Roman defended his title against Drew McIntyre in his hometown. Not gonna lie, the crowd was amazing, but they would put on a 5-star match for real. By the way, Austin Bum-Ass Theory would try to cash in, but got knocked out by Tyson Fury. I'm not gonna lie, I'm crying. But Drew would hit Roman with a spear and a claymore, and he went for the cover. 1, 2, but the ref got pulled out by Solo making his debut. Roman would then hit a spear and then he would retain his title. So Solo helped Roman retain his title. But on the September 13th episode of NXT 2.0, Solo would make a surprise appearance and defeat Carmelo Hayes to win the NXT North American Championship. 3 days later on SmackDown, Solo would defend his title against Madcap Moss. Yes, Madcap Moss. But Sami Zayn would pull out Solo out of the ring, and then Solo would go on to retain his title. On the September 20th episode of NXT, Solo would be forced to vacate the title. But then on September 23rd episode of SmackDown, Solo would officially join the Bloodline after acknowledging Roman Reigns as his tribal chief. By the way, this is the same segment where they gave Sami Zayn a new shirt. On the October 21st episode of SmackDown, Solo would have a match against Sheamus. With the help of the Usos and Sami, Solo would go on to win the match. Then after the match, the Usos and Solo would attack Sheamus. On November 26th, at Survivor Series War Games, Solo and the Bloodline would have a War Games match with the Brawling Brutes, Drew McIntyre, and Kevin Owens. Another 5-star match. But at the end, Sami would stay true to the Bloodline and help them get the victory. January 27th episode of SmackDown, Solo had a match with Kevin Owens. Sami would cost Kevin Owens the match, but then after the match, Kevin Owens would slam Solo through the announce table and then hit him with a chair. On the March 24th episode of SmackDown, Cody would hit Solo with the John Cena Theory line with the "You're not ready." The crowd was killing Solo with the chant, to be honest. But on the March 27th episode of Raw, Cody would have a match with Solo, and Solo would take his first loss in his WWE career. April 2nd, 2023, WrestleMania 39, Cody vs. Roman. I don't know what to say about this match, but it was perfect, amazing, just a 5-star match. But honestly, I love when Cody gave his belt to Luke Harper's kid. Not gonna lie, that was amazing. But the ending, I remember Ange crying for real. But Cody would hit Roman with 2 crossroads, and not gonna lie, Cody got cocky. But Cody would try to go for a third one. Due to the GOAT Paul Heyman distracting the ref, Solo would hit Cody with a Samoan spike, then Roman would hit a spear, retaining his title. Everyone was shocked. They thought Roman was gonna lose, but honestly, I think they made the right decision. But after this, on the May 6th at Backlash, Solo and the Usos would face Kevin Owens, Sami, and Matt Riddle in a 6-man tag, and Solo and the Usos would go on to win the match. On the May 12th episode of SmackDown, Jey and Jimmy Uso would say they would bring back the tag titles back to the Bloodline, but Roman said that him and Solo would do it themselves. Jey and Jimmy were pissed for real, but the next week, Roman and Solo would be in the ring with Sami and KO. The Usos would come out and attack them, but Roman was pissed at them. But on May 27th at Night of Champions, during the match, the Usos would interfere and accidentally attack Solo, causing them to lose the match. But after the match, Roman would push Jey, then Jimmy had his brother's back, hitting Roman with 2 super kicks, walking away from the Bloodline. On the June 2nd episode of SmackDown, Jey, Jimmy, and Solo told Roman, "Let's run it back with respect." Roman would break down crying, and Jimmy would hug him. Then Roman said no, and Solo would spike Jimmy, splitting the Usos from the Bloodline. On the June 16th episode of SmackDown, at first Jey looked like he was finna stay with Roman, and told Jey, "You're out." Took a pause and said, "Then I'm out too." Straight goosebumps, turning on the Bloodline, leading to a match at Money in the Bank. On July 1st at Money in the Bank, Jey and Jimmy would beat Roman and Solo. Jey would pin Roman for the first time in almost 3 years. I was shocked, not gonna lie. But after this, Solo and Jimmy, who returned after turning on Jey at SummerSlam, would feud with a returning John Cena, the GOAT. On the September 29th episode of SmackDown, Solo and Jimmy would attack Cena, but LA Knight would come out and help Cena, leading to a tag match at Fastlane. On October 7th at Fastlane, John Cena and LA Knight would go on to beat Solo and Jimmy. On the October 20th episode of SmackDown, John Cena would tease retirement before calling someone out. Then Solo would come out. On the SmackDown before Crown Jewel, Solo would call out Cena to be face-to-face. And not gonna lie, Cena came out and killed him in 90 seconds with his voice gone. Shit was legendary. He called Solo a Taz ripoff and said the only reason he had a job was because of Roman. Man, John Cena's the GOAT, I swear to God. But on November 4th at Crown Jewel, the match was terrible. Solo just killed my goat with 9 Samoan spikes, and then after the match, Cena acted like it was over and retired. The December 15th episode of SmackDown, Roman would name a tribal heir for when he left. Roman chose Solo over Jimmy. Not gonna lie, Jimmy got clickbaited. He was so salty, for real. After this, The Rock would return. Cody would give up his spot at Mania against Roman, but Cody would have a modern day yes movement and couldn't be denied. And I'll give him credit for that. Going into Mania, I was so hyped. They had so many great segments, and I honestly didn't know what was gonna happen. On night 1, Roman and The Rock would go on to beat Seth and Cody. So on night 2, it was Bloodline rules for the title. And everything was perfect. The crowd, the entrances were both dope, and the match was amazing. Another 5-star match. Solo would come out and try to help Roman, but then my GOAT would come back for some vengeance. He would go on to finish his story. And a break, it was time for the Bloodline 2.0 with Solo. On the April 12th episode of SmackDown, Solo would assert himself as the tribal chief, and a debuting Tama Tonga would attack Jimmy, and Solo would hit him with 4 Samoan spikes and kicking Jimmy out of his bloodline. Not gonna lie, Paul is funny. Solo told him to put the 1 up, and he tried to call Roman, and Solo broke his phone. Not gonna lie, I'm crying. On the April 19th episode of SmackDown, Solo and Paul would come out, and here's when the We Want Roman chant started. But Tama Tonga would bring out Kevin Owens and just beat him bloody. KO would try to fight back, but Tonga just killed him for real. In the April 26th episode of SmackDown, Kevin would catch Solo and Tonga lacking and jump out, and this would spew into the ring. And then Randy Orton would come out and help Kevin Owens. On the SmackDown before Backlash, Paul would be on the RKO show, and he would say that he wants Roman back too. And he told Kevin Owens and Randy Orton to back out of the match against Solo and Tama Tonga. Randy would then ask who the tribal chief is. Paul said, there's only one tribal chief. And then Solo and Tonga would sneak attack, and then this would just lead to a big brawl right before the pay-per-view. At Backlash, they would have a great match. KO would do a crazy brainbuster on chairs, then he would go for the cover, and then a debuting Tonga Loa would go on to help Solo, and Tama get the victory. On the May 10th episode of SmackDown, Solo would tell Paul that he's talked to Roman and says until Roman comes back, I call the shots. In the same show, Solo and Loa would help Tama beat Angelo Dawkins. On the May 17th episode of SmackDown, Tom would have another King of the Ring match against LA Knight, and Solo would actually help him get the victory. At the end of the show, Randy Orton would beat Carmelo Hayes, and the Bloodline would come out to end the show. The next week, Orton would go on to beat Tama Tonga. After the match, Solo would attack Orton, and then Kevin Owens would come out to help Randy. On the May 31st episode of SmackDown, Paul Heyman would beg Kevin Owens to back down from the Bloodline. Kevin Owens wouldn't back down, and the Bloodline came out, and then the Street Profits would come out to come help Kevin. Later that night, the Bloodline would go on to beat the Street Profits in a tag team match. On the June 7th episode of SmackDown, Solo vowed to make Tonga Loa his right-hand man, but Kevin Owens and the Street Profits came out and attacked the Bloodline. Later that night, they would have a 3v3 tag team match, and the Bloodline would go on to win. In the match, Solo would hit Montez Ford with a spear, and then the Bloodline would put Kevin Owens to an announce table. On the June 14th episode of SmackDown, the Bloodline would attack the Street Profits. Later in the show, Kevin Owens would get a one-on-one against Solo. Kevin would try to attack Paul, but Solo would save him and get the win. After the match, they would try to put KO through the announce table, but Randy Orton would come out and try to save Kevin Owens. At Clash of the Castle, after Cody beat AJ, Solo came out with the Bloodline and attacked him. Randy and Kevin Owens helped Cody. On the June 21st episode of SmackDown, CM Punk would come out in Chicago, and then Paul Heyman would come out. I'm gonna be so for real, the nostalgia was hitting hard. But me and Angel were hyped watching this. But Heyman came out to warn Punk to leave before Solo comes out to attack him. Solo and the Bloodline came out, and Paul asked for a favor, and he asked CM Punk to take me with you. Flashbacks of me as a kid were hitting hard, honestly. But Cody came out to help Punk before he got attacked. Before Solo's match, Paul was saying that he was breaking commandments, and then Solo drops a bombshell on Paul, saying that Roman isn't coming back. But the Bloodline would interfere in the match. Then Randy and Kevin Owens came out to help Cody. Then Solo had been cornered, but a debuting Jacob Fatu would come out to help Solo and the Bloodline. Fatu would dive onto Cody on the announce table to end the show. This SmackDown was honestly so good. On the June 28th episode of SmackDown, Cody, Kevin Owens, and Randy would come out to attack the Bloodline. This would lead to a 3v3 match at Money in the Bank. Then some fake-ass cops came out to kick out Kevin Owens, Randy, and Cody from the building. Later in the show, Tama Tonga, Tama Loa, and Jacob Fatu would acknowledge Solo as the tribal chief. Now he just needed Paul Heyman to acknowledge him.
And I acknowledge you are not my tribal
straight goosebumps. That crowd was so loud, but they would attack Paul and put him through the announce table. On the July 5th episode of SmackDown, Kevin Owens would have an emotional promo where he would vow to beat the Bloodline for his sick mom. Shit like this is cool, and honestly prayers for his mom. To end the show, Solo would call out Roman, saying that he wasn't man enough to beat Cody and that he let down his family. And if he wants it back, he's going to have to take it from me, and that he shouldn't call himself the Tribal Chief because I am. At Money in the Bank, Solo would go on to pin Cody, giving the Bloodline the win. Also, I just have to say, Jacob Fatu is a dog. He's amazing. But after the pay-per-view, Solo demands to be acknowledged after pinning Cody. On the July 12th episode of SmackDown, Solo called Roman soft and that he built a powerful family. Solo also says by the end of the night, everyone will acknowledge me. Then, Randy would tell Cody that he's got his back no matter what. Solo would then come out and say that the people don't deserve Roman, and that if he does come back, he will acknowledge me as his Tribal Chief. Cody then would come out saying that Solo would get a title match at SummerSlam. The Bloodline would attack Cody, Randy would come out, then they would tie up Cody and powerbomb Randy Orton through the table. Then, on the July 19th episode of SmackDown, Cody and Kevin Owens would have a tag team match against Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. Then the Bloodline would come out and attack Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes. Then they put Cody Rhodes through the announce table to end the show. On the July 26th episode of SmackDown, Cody would have a promo challenging Solo to meet him in the ring next week 1v1 to see if he's ready. Later in the show, the Bloodline would go on to beat the Street Profits to be the number one contenders for the tag titles. On the August 2nd episode of SmackDown, Solo would come out and tell Cody he would challenge him to a Bloodline Rules match for the title. Cody would accept, and he called Jacob Fatu a dumb son of a bitch. I'm crying. Hearing Cody cuss, it's so amazing. Then he calls Solo a wannabe Tribal Chief. Later in the show, the Bloodline would go on to beat DIY to win the tag team titles. But why is Solo holding the titles like he did something? I'm dead. On August 3rd at SummerSlam, Cody would hit a crossroads, and then Tama Tonga and Tama Loa would come out to attack Cody. Then Kevin Owens and Randy Orton would come out to help Cody. Cody would hit Solo with 2 crossroads, and then Jacob Fatu would come out and put Cody through the announce table. Then both men were down, and then the real Tribal Chief came back and returned and hit Solo with a Superman punch. Then he hit a spear, turned to Cody, and left. Cody would go on to retain his title, but then they showed Solo on the ground. I'm not gonna lie, it kind of looked like he was crying. August 9th episode of SmackDown, Cody would come out to talk about SummerSlam. Then the Bloodline would come out. Before attacking Cody, Kevin Owens would come out to help Cody. To end the show, Solo would come out saying that he's the Tribal Chief and that they come out and take it from him. Roman then came out and started killing Tama Tonga and Tama Loa. Roman hit Solo with a Superman punch, then Tama Loa and Tonga Tonga would go on to jump Roman, but Roman got the upper hand to end the show. On the August 16th episode of SmackDown, Solo would come out and say that Roman would have to come out and acknowledge him, and he also told him to come out. But Roman would come out, and Solo and Roman would actually run the ones. Tama Tonga would interfere, and honestly, I think that's like a rule breaker. But Roman would handle Tonga quickly. But Roman would spear Solo, and would get his necklace back. But Jacob Fatu would come out and tear shit up. The Bloodline would put Roman through the announce table to end the show. And not gonna lie, they said Roman's ass packing. But yeah, y'all, that's the video. In my personal opinion, I don't think the Bloodline 2.0 was terrible, but it also wasn't great. Solo did his job perfectly, and I will always give him credit for that. He made the fans miss Roman, and he made the fans hate him for when Roman came back. It finally completed Vince's storyline when he wanted Roman to be a likable face forever. But I hope y'all enjoyed. Like and subscribe. And Brother Productions, out of here.